We're back to the Total Tutor Show, powered by the Beach Lifestyle Celebrity segment. TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. And I'm really excited anytime to interview an NBA player, but especially an all-star that I tell you, he's doing such fantastic work in Africa. And we're going to talk about that in the second segment. But I want to welcome to the program NBA All-Star Kermit Washington. Kermit, thanks for calling.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. It's an honor for you to be on the program. You had a fantastic NBA career, but we wanted to kind of go in specifically the story of how you got involved in basketball in the first segment. I love hearing these stories because everyone thinks to get to the big time, you basically have to be the very best at the beginning, and it's not really the case. It's a battle in a lot of ways, and right place, right time, and getting the opportunity. So did you always want to be a basketball player?
No. My brother and I, we grew up in Washington, D.C., and we were brought up with my great-grandmother who was born in 1886. I'm serious,
oh, wow.
1886. And in those days, you only really had our role models were athletes. So my brother and I, we would just sit in our room and daydream. And I used to tell my brother, if I don't make pro basketball, I'll make pro football. If I don't make pro football, I'll make pro baseball. He used to say the same thing. And so even though our chances were probably 100,000 to 1 to become either one of those things, we just didn't know it. So we just kept saying, we're going to make it. And in what you do, you go through, and I didn't really play basketball, though, until my senior year in high school, because I played football and baseball and tennis. And because football was over my senior year, I really had nothing to look forward to, and my best friend was a basketball player. He says, why don't you come try out for basketball? So I did, and I made the team, but I really wasn't playing a lot, but it really wasn't my concern. But because I had been a halfway decent, athlete, I was kind of embarrassed of how poorly I was playing in basketball. So a lot of games in my senior year, I didn't even get in. But I was only 6'4" then. I was 6'4", but people don't realize in my sophomore year I was 5'6". My junior year I became 6 foot, and my senior year I was 6'4". And after I graduated, I grew 4 more inches to 6'8". So my senior year I didn't play very well, and about 5 points and 5 rebounds a game. So I started practicing, because I had embarrassed myself playing basketball. I said, well, at least let me get better and learn this game so I can, at least when I go to the playground to play on the weekends or whatever, I won't humiliate myself. But I bought a book, and Spence Haywood, it was a reading about Spence Haywood and saying how he jumped rope every night with a weight vest. And I had another friend named James Brown who does the football every Sunday on CBS or NBC, one of those. Well, I went to school with him, but he became an excellent basketball player. A lot of people think he played football, but no, he played basketball. He went on to Harvard on a scholarship. Well, he used to jump rope, and he was one of the better leapers in the city of Washington, D.C. So I bought me a weight vest and started jumping rope every night and going down to the playground and playing. But I got up to jumping rope 10,000 times every night with a 20-pound weight vest. And so I started improving so much because I would go down to the playground in Washington, D.C., and play all the time. But see, 10 of the players I used to play against in D.C. made the NBA.
Oh, wow.
And that will never happen again. But because in those days, the AAU games weren't around, so all the kids would go to a certain playground in the city and play and compete against each other. So I was lucky to live 2 blocks away from the playground where all the players, good players, would come and play. So I was able to go down there and play. Now, as a freshman or senior, I didn't get in too many games because I wasn't good enough. But as I kept progressing and working hard, it came to a point where I would get into games, and then I got a scholarship. A couple of people saw me, and they said, well, you're 6'4". In those days, you had to play freshman basketball. You couldn't play varsity as a freshman.
Okay.
And so quite a few teams, all of a sudden, because my grades were pretty good, but they were good compared for inner cities. And I took all the hard courses and all the languages, so I qualified for college. But I went, Maryland wanted me to think about coming. Rutgers, a few other schools. But I said, listen, I'm not good enough to go play in those schools because I really didn't realize how good I could get. So American University came and offered me a scholarship. And I said, I'd be glad to take a scholarship because I had no money to go to school anywhere. So, nobody in the inner city really had the money to pay for college back in those days. And it wasn't all those grants and aids that you can get now. So I went to American University. As a freshman, I averaged about 19 points and 23 rebounds a game. And that's from the improvement of playing, hardly playing in high school, but I would never stop jumping rope. I would never stop running the stairs with the weight vest, and I would lift weights when I got to college. I had never lifted weights before, and when I went to college, I was 6'8", 160 pounds.
Okay.
Pathetic. That was pathetic. But I kept growing tall. But one thing I realized, I was in really good shape. So my coach started me lifting weights, and so every year I gained about 20 pounds through lifting weights and just maturing.
Oh, wow.
So my sophomore year, my coach wanted me, he said, Kermit, when you play varsity, if you can average 10 points and 10 rebounds, I'll be very, very happy with you. I thought, Coach, that sounds good. Well, my sophomore year, I averaged about 20 points and 20 rebounds. and I didn't know that was a lot, but I came in second in the nation in rebounding, second to Artis Gilmore, and I was ahead of Dr. J.
Oh, wow.
That was fun. And so my junior year, I averaged about 20 points and 20 rebounds. And I won the rebounding championship, and Dr. J was second. And Marvin Barnes was third, I think. Then by my junior year, they wanted me to come out. The ABA wanted me to come out.
Right.
And I was just having fun in college. I had never, that was the best 4 years of my life. I mean, it was fun. But the schoolwork was hard, and I worked hard in school. And I just told my coach, no, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay and finish my senior year. And he was very, very happy. And that was Coach Young of American University. And when I left, he went on to Rutgers. And then they went to the Final Four at Rutgers, where he went there. But my senior year, I averaged about 20 points and 20 rebounds again. So I was in my last game of my college career to join an exclusive club of 20-20 for your career, 20 rebounds and 20 points for your whole career. I needed 40 points to do that, and I had never scored over 30 points in my life. But to do that, I think Elgin Baylor, I think Bill Russell, Dr. J, let me see, Bill Russell, Paul Silas, Dr. J, Bill Russell. I don't know who the other one is. Artis Gilmore. I needed 40 points. And our last game was against Georgetown. Well, John Thompson I knew, and the guys in the Georgetown team, because they're in Washington, D.C., I knew all of them. And so it wasn't like I was playing against guys I didn't know. But my final game against Georgetown, I had 40 points, 28 rebounds, and 10 block shots. So I joined that exclusive club. So I was the number one draft, I was the first-round draft pick, the fifth player picked in the entire draft going to the Los Angeles Lakers. So the Los Angeles Lakers, where I went for the first 2.5 years, I sat on the bench, though, because they had a very good team. And they told me when they drafted me they didn't need me right away, but I didn't believe them. But I sat on that bench for the first 2.5 years.
I mean,
and then I started playing after that.
It's amazing, Kermit, when you talk about specifically your hard work and perseverance. I mean, you weren't the very best in high school, but you went out there and worked hard. You worked really hard, and you grew, and you lifted weights. You did things that a lot of times people think, just that natural ability is what gets you to the NBA. That's not the case at all. There are many people that are 6'8", the same size as you, all over the U.S. and all over the world now. So it's about the work ethic, it's about the practice, and you just kept on getting better. So through lifting weights, through all those different things, you just became dominant in college because of it, because of just simply working hard, right?
Well, I tell these people, and I tell guys that these younger guys, I was saying, it is hard work. Some guys are gifted. But let me say this. I did all of that all the time. I would lift weights for 2 hours a day, and I would jump rope, and I would run the stairs with the weight vest, and I was just an average NBA player. So that tells you what it takes to be a really good player in the NBA, because I wanted to be that. But then what happens when you get to the NBA, you learn that the good guys are so gifted. I mean, so gifted. and they are just athletically superior. No matter how hard you work, you can't catch them. But at least that you can compete against them. That's the big thing, because Dr. J and LeBron and Kobe and Dr. J, I mean, come on, they're unbelievable athletes. Unbelievable. But you know what? I just tell people I was honored just to compete against these guys.
Exactly.
And I just tell them that's what I said. I said I was just honored to compete against them. So it takes a lot of work, and very few people are willing to work that hard. I tell them, I said, you need to work, but they don't understand what hard work is. But to be good at anything,
you have to work.
And you have to have courage, because you're going to be humiliated at first. You're going to be, you just won't be good at first. But you got to persevere, as you said. That's true.
And hard work in anything in life, Kermit. If you're trying to master something and you believe this is your gift, and you don't go out there and try to improve your craft, you're just going to be mediocre the rest of your life in whatever career you're at. But by working hard and persevering and looking at your essential skills and saying, I need to improve these and make these better, instead of just going off and saying, you know what, I'm happy where I'm at. That's where successful people, the difference between successful people and not successful people. Wouldn't you agree? Hard work.
I agree, but see, here's the thing. You have to understand what you have gifts in. See, when you read these books, these self-help books, they tell people you can be anything you want to be if you work hard. That's not true. That's the biggest bunch of bull I've ever heard. What you can be better than you are if you work hard. But what you have to understand, what gifts were you given? I couldn't be a jockey no matter how hard I worked. Or I couldn't be a mathematician. It's genetically, I don't have it. But genetically, I realized I was good in sports, and I know that sounds a stereotype, but it's not. I knew that I had the ability to get myself a scholarship to go to school, because I didn't want to be a bum. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you didn't want not to be successful. So I saw it, and I took advantage of it, but I really concentrated. I didn't miss a day for lifting weights for maybe 10 years. I'm serious. Oh, wow. I didn't miss a day from jumping rope in college, maybe 4 years. I never missed a day, because I just had to realize, well, what will it take for me to succeed? And that's how you have to think. You have to think like that, nothing can stop me. I'm getting better every single day that I work out. Because when you go into and you compete, you have to say to yourself, what makes me better, and what makes me think I can be better than this person I'm competing against?
Yeah.
And you have to say, I've worked harder. Now, you might not have worked harder, but you got to believe you worked harder.
So basically, once you got to the NBA, first you had to, again, be humbled in a certain aspect by sitting the bench for the Lakers. Then,
my goodness, yes.
I mean, you had 40 points against Georgetown your final game in college. You were a 20-20 guy. The Lakers draft you, and you sit at the end of the bench. I mean, it's got to be a humbling experience that really taught you a lot about the game of life in certain ways after being on top.
Well, you know what? It puts you back at the bottom, and you have to start working your way up again. And I was lucky to find a very helpful coach who used to be my general manager. His name was Pete Newell, a very famous coach that was a general manager of the Lakers, and he was retiring from being general manager. And I asked him, I went up to his office, I said, will you please help me? Because I had really nice coaches that in the NBA, but they were point guards. And point guards, they didn't really know how to help me. It's just like me trying to work with a point guard in basketball. Well, I guess I'm better than a guy who doesn't play basketball, never played basketball, but I can't really help a point guard because I never played that position. You need somebody that can help you. And this gentleman, which his name was Pete Newell, a very famous coach, he took the time with me, and he got me off the bench that first year. He says, if you work with me and you listen, you'll get off the bench. And from that point on, I became a starter for the rest of my career because of him.
Wow. And isn't it great how people mentor you, if you're willing to listen to them, especially when you probably thought, this coach doesn't like me in L.A., maybe I got to go somewhere else. Maybe I got to go to the ABA, but you made the right decision to stay on. What would you say was your highlight of your career? It's the team you played for where you had your best numbers and best where you were playing at your highest level. What would you say?
Well, I would say in the Celtics, and I would say in Portland and San Diego Clippers. After I started playing, I played well everywhere. But see, the first couple of years I sat. But you know what? It teaches you a lesson. You can't quit. because, a lot of guys just get frustrated. But, you just have to remember what got you here and what can keep you here. And you just have to keep working. And you can't blame people. You know what? Listen, if you're better than the guy in front of you, the coach is going to play you. He doesn't care if he likes you or not. He wants to win because he wants to keep his job. So you just have to do what it takes to succeed. And here's the thing. My brother made pro football, and I made pro basketball. And let me see, our philosophy was, whatever it takes to make it, we're willing to do. No matter how hard, no matter if death is facing us, because we didn't have anything else anyway.
Right.
So he just said, we're going to go all out. If like my brother said, if I break my neck playing football, I break my neck. But he says, but I'm not going to be afraid to fail or not to put a great effort out. And that's the way you have to be to make. You have to succeed. And then what happens to a lot of guys, when the eye of the tiger leaves, then all of a sudden they're very vulnerable. They don't work as hard. Right. They're not as hungry. You got to be hungry and go after it. Attitude is everything. Let's put that. Let's say that. Attitude is everything.
Okay, when we get back with Kermit Washington, we're going to learn about how he's giving back to the community, especially going all over the world to help, especially in Africa, and his ventures, especially with Kissito as well. So we're going to learn about all those different things. You're listening to Total Education, Total Tutor Show on the Total Education Network, powered by the Beach Lifestyle Celebrity segment, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Total Tutor Show, powered by the Beach Lifestyle Celebrity segment, TotalTutor.net for more information, Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook. And we're really learning about Kermit Washington, the man. And this is why we hear such great things of what he's doing in Africa. Think about his hard work, his perseverance, his ability never to give up throughout his career. Being told, you're not going to be that good, and he always persevered. So what made you want to give back, especially to Africa, and say, you know what, I really want to help the people in Africa?
Well, first of all, it was a situation, I would say probably in 93 or 92 in Somalia, where things were going really bad. A lot of people were starving, and I just said, you know what, I need to do something about, or at least giving back in the sense. But I didn't do anything at first, because I was doing basketball camps, I was working, and I didn't. I felt very guilty. Now, the situation in Rwanda in 1994 came up again. But see, I had been doing things in the community in Portland and Oregon a lot. But I didn't think about, something overseas. But what happened in Rwanda, when you got close to 1 million people were slaughtered by each other, my daughter said to me one day, Kermit, Dad, you got to do something about what's going on over there. You got to do something about what's going on. And I said, okay, I'm going to call and donate some money. So I called 3 different things. It was like Doctors Without Borders, Northwest Medical Teams, and another group, I don't know what it was. And Northwest Medical Teams were up there in Portland where I was living, not only like 5 miles from where I was living. And they were traveling over with doctors and working in Rwanda during the war. And I said, okay. I said, I'll donate some money. But one of them said, Kermit, could you ever go with us? Because if you went with us, it really would give a lot of visibility to what we're doing and help us raise a lot of money to help the people over there. And let me say this. Those organizations that I'm talking about, they do a tremendous job. I mean, you always have to be kind of leery of people saying, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But, here's a group of people and doctors and nurses that went over there in the slum and during the war and worked. I mean, very dangerous. And they said, Kermit, can you go with us? And I said, I've never been to Africa. I've never been to a war-torn, a place where fighting is still going on. I said, I've never done that. But I said, let me think about it. And I thought about it, and then I asked my wife, I said, you know what, I'll go. And so I was kind of apprehensive because I've never done this. So not only did I donate money, but I got on a plane and went from Portland to Minneapolis to London, from London to Nairobi, Kenya, from Nairobi, Kenya to Entebbe, Uganda, to Goma, Zaire, where right outside of Rwanda, where they had pushed all the refugees and the dying people were going. So I went with a group of doctors and nurses, and they were tremendous people. Let me tell you something. You read about things like people aren't doing the right things with the money, but I'm telling you, these people, they were putting their lives on the line, the time, the energy. It was very impressive to see them working with in a refugee camp with about 300,000 people with no food, no water, no health care, no electricity, no bathrooms. It was horrendous. And I went with them for like 5 days, and I saw what was going on, and I tried to help as much as I could. But the doctors and nurses and the people, the volunteers that went, did a tremendous job. And what I told them, I said, listen, I'll come back, I'll help. But see, I said, right now I can't help you because I'm not a doctor and a nurse. If you just had anybody who was healthy and that spoke the language, which they spoke a lot of French and Swahili and different languages like that, I said, I'll come back. And so I left after 5 days because really it was like a nightmare. I've never seen so many dead people in my life, and they wrapped up in blankets, people that were dying, just dying from the lack of water, respiratory diseases where they would be healthy in like a week here in this country, but they die over there because they don't have the antibiotics. And it was sad. I just said people shouldn't live like this. And these people were doctors and nurses, teachers that were thrown out of their country. These are good people. Yes. But it's just like you or me, somebody coming to your house and say you have an hour to leave and you better start walking or we'll kill you. So that's devastating. And here you go. They've lost their homes. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where their next meal is going to be. They don't know the next place they're going to sleep. And I said, I'll come back. So I came back with a couple of doctors and nurses that were friends of mine. And we set up clinics in Kenya because it was just too dangerous to go back. You know, if you were Green Beret or something, I felt like that. Right. Yet you could go back to Rwanda or Goma and feel safe. But I didn't want to be responsible for people that basically were good people and put them in a dangerous situation. So a lot of the refugees were heading to Kenya, and so we went there and started using schools for clinics, helping people that were in need. And it kept growing, getting bigger and bigger, and I took more doctors over. We got to the point where we were seeing 1,000 people a day that were in need.
Wow.
And then until we ran out of medicine. When we ran out of medicine, we would just leave. But I've been going ever since 1994, almost 20 years. But then what happened, a lady that helped us, a very nice lady that was helping us, she had a clinic, but it was a really bad clinic. And we said, well, we'll help you find a clinic and help you pay for a new clinic. So what we did, we helped her in a place called Kawangware, which is right next to Kibera, which is the largest slum in the continent of Africa. And it's in Nairobi. Okay. Right outside of Nairobi. And we helped her build a clinic, and then with the clinic, we would help her with the clinic. Then you had a lot of homeless kids and kids with HIV hanging around the clinic, nowhere to school, not going to school. So I said, well, let's start feeding these kids then. So we got another room upstairs, and we started feeding them. Then I said, well, since we're feeding them, let's try to find a teacher or something that can help them. Oh, wow. So then all of a sudden, we got teachers. Then we got a point where we had 57 kids, so we had teachers for them. We bought them uniforms, fed them 2 meals a day, and we took them on trips. So, and then we had a feeding program for the community, too. So it kept growing bigger and bigger. And so what happened, the last year, we took our kids out of our school because the teachers we had just couldn't teach them all the courses they needed. When they were 6 and 7 years old, yes, the teachers were adequate. But now they weren't. So we took them out. We put them in 7 different schools in nice areas, and we sponsored 56 kids. I'm responsible for 27 kids and 2 families that I take care of.
Fantastic.
And the other doctors that are friends of mine, they raise money, and they sponsor the rest of the kids. But the kids are doing well. I mean, I'm very happy. We buy them uniforms and their books and all the stuff that they need, and I'm happy how they're progressing. Now, how many of them will succeed? I don't know, but let's say this. More of them will succeed if we didn't help them, put it like that. And that's when we run into a lot of different people, like Kissito. Kissito, the people there are tremendous. Let me just say this. Once again, you're talking about a group of people who really care.
Yes.
And most of the money is not going to administrative. Most of the money is going to helping people around the world. And they really do. They're bigger than I am. In my group, we're just grassroots guys doing it. But they've come and helped us. They've come and looked at our clinic and helped us tremendously. And the guy, Tom, who's in charge of everything, let me say this. He is a good man. I mean, really has a heart of trying to help. He's a wealthy man, doesn't have to do this. He goes over there, and you know something? He really thinks the way I think about it. Yes, there are people that are starving in America. They're starving all over the world. Now, we can't help everybody, but what we're seeing is the world is deteriorating in a lot of ways. Africa, to me, everything is corrupt.
Yes.
And I can't do that too much because they won't let me back into Kenya. But everything is corrupt. It seems like the money goes to the people at the top, and there's so many people starving, so much unemployment, so many people are taking advantage of the poor. And it happens in every single country. So what I'm saying is that what he does, what Kissito does, and especially with the situation in Uganda with this white storm, what they're really trying to push, I mean, you have to take your hat off with the feeding programs that they have. Absolutely. And they're giving. They're great people. They really are. And so what I do, we don't really take, my group, which is Project Contact Africa. You know, they can go to our website. When people want to donate, most of the time I say, well, don't donate to me. Come with me and see what we do.
Oh, wow.
Because then you can do what you want. So we have a lot of people that come with me, and then they say, oh, okay, I see now. This is what I want to do. I said, that's wonderful, because you can do that yourself. Because if you go to Africa and think you can turn around and help everybody and you don't know what's going on,
it's not going to happen.
They'll take advantage of you. But if you go with me or go with Tom, go with Kissito, and you want to see what you can do, or ask them what you can do to help, you'd be very surprised how you can not be taken advantage of, and you can help the majority of the people that you want to help.
Well, Kermit, I think that's fantastic. You can connect it with Kissito because, again, you said they're a larger group and they do such great work, and now they work hand in hand to help you in certain aspects, and then being on the board means you can also help in their ventures as well and get people involved to help out in specific ways. And I think it's fantastic, and it seems like it's definitely a life's work. Through your celebrity status, you were able to give back to the community, especially in Africa, and education, healthcare, things that ultimately even we're seeing in our country, Kermit, that are not taken care of perfectly. If we could have great health care and we could have great education, every country in the world would be fantastic, because those are the two mainstays that are really important, and then feeding them. But, after that, feeding, then health care and education.
Well, I agree with you, but something, most of the time, I think the government people, the Senate and Congress need to understand it's not their money they're dealing with. And the military needs to understand it's not their money, it's our money. If we put money to health care and education and feeding people, we might have scientists and people finding the cure of cancer and everything else so much quicker.
Yes.
But what I think, not that we have, let me say this. I think our leaders are leading us the wrong way, and they're not leading the right way. They act like, they always act like it's their money. But what we have to realize is that we have a huge deficit because we have a lot of waste in spending, especially in the military. Okay, now, should we buy things that would help people live or purchase things that would help kill people? It makes no sense. You know how many kids die every year in Africa from malaria? What is it, 3 million kids?
Oh, my.
Now, all they need is a net and the right kind of medicine. We could do that. How many people are put into slavery or they're working in almost like slavery because we turn a blind eye to certain things. We waste time trying to worry about Iran, Iraq, all these countries. Listen, we're not threatened by those countries at all. Why do we spend so much money where in America, how many people are murdered every year? How many unsolved murders? How many senior citizens are afraid to go out at night because of crime?
Yeah.
So we have to understand, this is Americans' money. Let's put it toward America first, and let's show those other countries that when we want to help, we're not helping by giving guns to the rebels or giving guns to the government, because it's not too many good things you can do with machine guns or hand grenades, except for hurting people.
Right.
So I just think that, what Kissito's doing, what a lot of good people are doing, and there are a lot of good people out there that are trying to help, trying to turn things around, because we have a lot of things we need to worry about, not only the economics of this world, but overpopulation, starvation, the atmosphere where you have, they say in 50 years, Miami will be underwater because of the ice melting in the Arctic, but it seems like nobody mentions that. But if you go and read about it, it's a certainty that Manhattan in less than 100 years will be underwater.
Oh my gosh.
But I think the government doesn't want to tell people these things. These are the things we need to work on. And these things are happening. Overpopulation is happening. Our natural resources going. Oil is drying up. So we don't want to come to a point where there's a global war for natural resources.
Absolutely.
I think if we educate people, we get people that can solve these problems, we'd be surprised how we might last a little bit longer instead of destroy ourselves as humans.
Exactly, Kermit. Okay, so where can we first of all find information on you and then also Kissito so that our listeners can help out Kissito and volunteer and then also learn more about your projects as well?
Well, you can go to my website, which is Project Contact Africa. And, what happens, you go there and you can see what we do. As I said, if people want to go with me or want to meet me there or want to do something in Africa, which I'm in Nairobi, where Kissito is mostly in Uganda, Uganda, and they're working with something happened over there called the White Storm, where 2,000 villagers, they had 2 or 3 feet of ice storm that destroyed every single crop that they had. So these people are starving. So they're trying to feed these people, 2,000 people, for maybe they need almost not a year, but till the next crop was able to come around. So they need about 630,000, but in different ways. If you go to Kissito.org and their website, they're selling T-shirts. They're doing all kinds of ways of trying to raise money. And you just have to realize these people aren't taking the money and putting it in their pockets or using it for administrative causes. They're using it to help people. And that's what's so impressive. It takes here's the thing people need to realize. For maybe $1.50, you can feed 2 people a day.
Wow.
Easy. And, not only 2 people a day, but it can give, let me say this. My thinking, things are going up over there, but my thinking, we used to could feed 10 people for $1.50. And easy a day. 10 people, because they don't eat beans and rice. You have protein, you have carbohydrates, which make it perfect for what needs to be done. And so go to Kissito and read on their website. They have different ways of trying to raise money for this tragic situation that's that's happening in Uganda, where 2,000 people really are starved to death.
Oh my gosh.
Because it came. But people say, well, things are bad over here. Well, things are bad everywhere. So let's not say, well, they're not in our borders. Exactly. Let's not help them.
No.
Let's help as many people as we can. So, Kissito is doing a wonderful job. Go to their website, and it's spelled Kissito. And you'll find out everything about it. So they can probably get it, and you can maybe mention it again, Kissito. And don't worry about me so much, Project Contact Africa. So we're doing fine. And I really just I don't really raise money. I just do things for people. If I can make them money, then they donate. So that's the way I go, because I really don't want people telling me what to do. So if you don't take their money, if you use your own money, you can do what you want to do. But, I just want to, I really appreciate the opportunity to come and let people realize what Kissito's doing, more than me. So I don't mind telling about my crazy story, but they are doing a lot bigger things than I'm doing, and I'm very proud to be part of them and being on the board. So if I can help by just getting the word out, it's tremendous. But they need to feed those people. And it's nice. I mean, $1.50, if somebody's listening and they want to just donate $5, well, $5 could feed, honestly, 50 people.
Yes.
50 people. So I just want you to realize that. Now, they're not going to have steak and everything else like that, but you'd be surprised how beans and rice taste when you're hungry.
Exactly. Well, Kermit, I appreciate you calling the program. Best of luck to you. We'll definitely have to contact. I got some friends in Nairobi, so we'll have to talk about it. A friend of a friend knows a lot of people, some great work they're also doing in Nairobi at some schools and stuff. So we'll definitely stay in touch, see how we can help each other out and promote each other's brands. So thanks for calling.
Well, thank you. Just remember, just go KissitoInternational.org, and that would be perfect. And if you can hit that for me, that's perfect, and I appreciate it very much.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kermit. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment.